Alright, here are some papers that we've already done. The technique I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. I don't know if you can see, they're different textures, different metallics, and I'll show you how you get those. You can see, I think, the different metallics on there. Obviously I don't clean my palette, you can tell because there's mixed up. That one's especially nice. Aha, that one's already had some cutting out. That's sort of what we have there, and here are, put those in, all the colors, and these are just basically, we bought them for the children to use, and
we ended up using them more often.
We ended up using them because they didn't really know what to do with them anyway. Alright, now we start off with Bristol, Strathmore, Bristol. Happened to get that at Tuesday morning, one of our favorite shopping places, for really cheap. Okay, I want you to look at the edges of both of these brushes because you will get different effects using a different brush. I really prefer this one when I'm doing my textures because it's all jacked up and works really well. Alright, I usually start off with a gold and do a gold one. Oh, I know, I forgot my water, but that's okay. I think this is goopy enough that will. And again, you just put it on willy-nilly. Make sure you've got something underneath that you don't mind. Can be directly applied. Now again, if you want a smooth one, you just go to that other brush I have, but this I love because look at that. Doesn't that just make you have a little tiny orgasm? And voila! It will start to warp a little bit. Do not worry about that. But when you place it someplace to dry, make sure that it's not stuck because it will kind of go with that.
It'll hold that warp.
It'll hold that warp. This will eventually go flat. I'm just going to place it on the cutting thing over here. And the other thing is, we usually try to make these a little bit larger than our card size because that way you can cut it down and cut off mistakes on the edges. Again, this is an interesting, it's kind of old goldy looking. And then if you just go back and forth, you get that nice
dirty
kind of
brass,
smeary, whatever.
Dirty brass.
Dirty brass. But it's not just one thing, which I think is really, really incredibly boring. I don't know why you want to do something like that. I mean, I guess you could. All right, now this is the other cool thing. If you spin your brush, you get these nice little circles, and I wished I'd pulled, I will, remind me, pull out the ones that we did with this that sort of mirrored the technique.
We'll drop those at the end of the video.
And also make sure you have a variety of sizes. You don't want them all to be the same. Don't be afraid to go off the paper. Don't emphasize your corners. Okay. Warping a little bit. No worries. No worries. Take it away.
I want you guys to know that this is clean. This is just how we
It's
work.
a relative concept when you have a 2-year-old. All right, now let's bring in some of this, which I'll mix over here on the palette, and then as well as that's really nice copper.
Ooh, yes, we like that.
And I really love this paint. And like I said, it's cheap. And I'm not even going to mention the other one that's not so cheap, that is not of any higher quality than this. Okay, now this is just your basic.
Oh, it's half the size.
Thank you, Mariah. Yeah, okay.
This is why it's the PM Art Studio.
All right, now which color haven't we used? Okay, some of this. Mix it around in there, maybe a little on here. The other one that I've really been thinking about is adding some white to this and seeing what happens in that case.
Which white?
You know, just like another acrylic white, so that you get a different level of gold. You can get really light gold. I'm thinking. I mean, I don't really know that. Okay.
Maybe it works similarly to how the alcohol inks with the white.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to do one of those. Okay.
I think at this point we've
Covered all of our... Okay, now the next step is you want to let those dry 24 hours.
Yes, or longer. The
Or-
longer the better.
Yes, because then when you start adding the Mod Podge, which I have matte here, I really haven't used that, but I'm going to have to because I've got more of that. I like the gloss, the luster, and this little piece of stuff here is really a great idea. Seals it up and you don't have to deal with the,
It's cling wrap.
yeah, with the mushy Mod Podge at the top, which clogs up your whole business.
So now,
That's the sound of shaking Mod Podge. And this, see this little, what is this stuff called? It's the stuff that sticks to itself.
yeah, it's the cling wrap, but the
Cling wrap.
stretch kind, or the
Yeah.
sticky.
But if you don't have that on here, you get this ucky film that you have to bust off each time. And I've already shaken that quite a bit. Put enough in there that you don't have to keep going back and forth. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Grab my brush. Okay, now I want to talk about the brushes. This brush here was used to create that lovely design. Not so great for the Mod Podge. You want a brush that's nice, heavy duty, yeah, nice and smooth. And on this one, mainly, we want to make sure you're getting out to the edges. It is going to probably do a little bit of whatnot on the edges. If your Mod Podge is too thick, obviously add some more water, which I may need to do. I go both ways because then I can turn it in the light and I can see if I've missed any significant spots. And you can see on this edge right there, missed them. So I'll go back with this. Again, you're going to get a little bit of texture with this. At this point, if you want to do some of the swishy-do things, again, reinforce that. I think that might be nice. And do make sure that you wash your brush out because this is, after all, plastic. And voila! You can see it on there. Alrighty, and then seal up your Mod Podge with your sticky wrap stuff. Go wash your brush out. I'm going to go ahead and paint a few more and use up the rest of my Mod Podge because I don't want to try to get it back into the horse and just a pain in the butt. But anyway, that's it. Alright, here we are back again. I promised you I'd show you some of the ones of the cards that we made using the same technique with the Mod Podge in the background. And I think when you see, you can kind of see the textural things that go on there. And again, these are probably not finished. I love coming back and reworking them over and over again. And this one I feel like is done. But you can see the texture. This is a lift and a print with bubble wrap that, you know, don't ever throw those away. You can always use them. This is another one. And you can see on the back, that's really how I knew these were the paper, because the ink in some places is going to go through. You get a whole different effect. And these areas here are with that white paint. I can't tell you what the name of it is, but anyway. And this one's actually been carved into. If you can see, you can feel the bumps into it. And that's what's nice, because when that happened was when the Mod Podge was still wet. This one is another example. You can see carving into it really made it. And on the back you can see where the ink came through. This was a little experiment with stamping on the underneath side before I Mod Podged over it. And this is, again, some carving, and this is, remember the little swirls I made on that one? This was made originally, and I just emphasized those. This is the putting on glitter while the alcohol inks and Mod Podge are still wet, and pretty much little transfer, not much. These are lovely backgrounds, which I'll show you some of the cards in just a minute, and you'll see why this makes sense. Okay. This is one of the cards. My daughter actually does the designing. I just produce the artwork. She does the cutting and whatnot. But this, again, you can see I've worked it and reworked it. It has some stamping. It has some, I don't know, carving. Oh, and Posca markers. All right, the background on this is completely done with the Mod Podge card, and then some stamping. And that's actually a Yupo deer there.
Well, and the deer and the trees, we use the Cricut to cut those out.
Cricut to cut those out.
And all of the, well, I don't know if any of these have the snowflakes. Those are the stamps, the punch stamps.
Punch stamps. And this, I think, is really just a nice little abstract design.
Also, a little side note on the stamping. The thicker the paper and the Mod Podge, the punch stamps aren't so great.
No.
They get kind of clogged up.
Yes. Yes, it constipates the cutter. I love this one because I was originally a batik artist, and I think that one sort of reminds me of it. Here's some more of that carving in while it's still wet. And this background that you see there, that's one of the original backgrounds that's there, and it came through because I used, I don't know, the end of my paintbrush probably. Okay, this is totally one of those backgrounds with some stamping.
And also use of things that were mailed to us, and we keep those letters and envelopes and
Yes.
pieces and parts.
Pieces and parts.
So if you guys want any videos on any of, like, kind of how-tos, let us know in the comment section, because we'll start to make those videos. Or certainly, I mean, we can't recreate anything. It's, as my mom says, making earrings.
Yeah, I have trouble with that second one. All right, this is totally, again, that technique I told you about with the glitter, and then using that as a background. This is done with the bubble wrap again and lifting off
I'm going to come in on that one because it's so nice.
Ink, as well as going in and emphasizing the shape of your stamp.
This is another one of those background ones.
Another one, the background is made with the glitter and the...
And then the ornament was made with the foil Yupo.
Which that was what we were trying to duplicate here, because this is also one of the...
And then the Posca markers, stamping, all kinds of things
really
happening in
really wonderful. And you can see, here's one of those that I showed you earlier. I said, oh, the cutouts. This is from that particular sheet.
And then we just layered them. We couldn't get them back together the same way they were supposed to go. So, you know, we improvised.
Yeah.
And this is
all
what
right.
happens. So, some kind of inspiration on what can happen with these. Like I said, let us know in the comment section below. We would love to do more of these videos.
Bye.